Welcome to the Individual and Family Support Program Funding Application Training Session. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Heather Hines, and I'm the Interim Program Manager for the Individual and Family Support Team. I'd like to also introduce our other two IFSP team members. Rachel Vimenta is our Communications and Program Coordinator, and Rhonda Gaines is our IFSP Support Specialist. Also joining us today is Dee Dee Thomas, the Waiver Management System, or WAMS, Data and Administration Manager. We are excited to share information with you about the IFSP funding application process this year. Today, we hope to give you all the information you need to complete your funding application. This will include a review of the eligibility requirements, some basic information about the guidelines, a demo of the application process, and some tips to ensure that the application process goes smoothly for you. As you will see in the chat, the session will be recorded. We will post the recording on the My Life, My Community IFSP funding page online for others to watch who were not able to attend, or if you'd like to go back and review any part of it. All attendees will be on mute during the session. And if for some reason you get disconnected from the meeting, please come back and we'll admit you. And if you have any questions throughout the training, please put those questions in the chat and we will answer them at the end of the training session. We may answer some throughout as well if we're able to. If there are questions that we are not able to get to in the amount of time that we have, please feel free to email the IFSP support mailbox, which is on the slide. And also we'll speak a little bit more about our frequently asked questions document that's also on the My Life, My Community page, because your question might be answered there. So before we get started with our tutorial, we'll take a few minutes to share a little bit more about IFSP program in general. The Individual and Family Support Program target population includes individuals and families regardless of age with a developmental disability who live in the Commonwealth of Virginia and who are on the wait list for the developmental disability waiver. While the funding program is expected to always help people on the waiver waiting list, our team is also committed to exploring opportunities to support people with DD regardless of their waiver status through its other programs. Of course, our funding program is the part of the program most people are familiar with and why you're here today. But as you can see on the slide, we offer some other supports, resources, and programs. Our program includes direct supports to individuals and families to include family mentoring opportunities through a partnership with Virginia Commonwealth University's Center for Family Involvement. So if you'd like to speak to another family member who's trained in navigating the system, you can find information about that on My Life, My Community, and certainly reach out to them. They can be great help. And peer mentoring opportunities through our partnership with the ARC of Virginia. Our partnership with VCU also includes LEAP training, which is Leadership for Empowerment and Abuse Prevention training. And our community coordination program supports community action and engages with individuals and families through our regional and state councils. We're currently accepting applications for our councils. So again, more information about that will be on My Life, My Community if you're interested. And our partnership with Senior Navigator provides education, information, and general referrals. Next slide. So you may have seen this website before, you may have heard of it, you may have used it before. My Life, My Community website. We partner with Senior Navigator to develop and maintain this website. You can find information on waiver services and non-waiver services and resources here. If you ever need help navigating the system or finding services and supports, we encourage you to use this website or use the toll-free number on the slide to speak to a live person. The people on the other end of the phone are incredibly knowledgeable and helpful. You may always go to the DBHDS website, but that is going to direct you back to My Life, My Community, especially for our IFSP programs. Next slide. Please check your email inboxes. The IFSP team sent out our annual notification message to everyone on the wait list on December 23rd with an email address with whom we have their email address in our system. This also went out by postal mail to those for whom we do not have an email address in our system. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, please take a moment and open the email. It includes our first steps document. It's a guide that was developed to help individuals and families understand resources, supports, and services that the Commonwealth of Virginia offers to people with developmental disabilities. It includes information about how to access DD waiver, how to access the one-stop information website, My Life, My Community, a summary of the IFSP program, and a list of resources for people who are on the wait list. Next slide. We also encourage you to respond to our annual IFSP satisfaction survey. The link is included
Mildred Hall
in our funding
joined the meeting,
as well as the annual mailer I just mentioned. Your feedback is very important to us. So when completing the survey, you will be asked to respond to questions about the funding program. The survey is open until the end of January. This current survey that we're talking about now is asking specifically about the previous.
Joined the meeting.
We will have a new survey that will go out later this year about the current funding program that we'll tell you about in a minute. Regardless of whether or not you applied for or received funding in the past, we would love for you to take a few minutes to respond, as there are other questions in the survey not related to funding. If you're interested in learning more about any of these things that I've mentioned, any of these supports, any of these resources, like I said, please go to the My Life, My Community website. You'll find out all about how to get involved, how to contact the different agencies to get those services started. You will have received our funding announcement email on the evening of January 10th. That email, the annual message that went out on December 23rd, and any email correspondence you will have received from IFSP includes a link to this website. We understand that waiting for DD waiver funding can be hard, and our IFSP services and supports are here to help you during that time. And remember, they're all free. So now to the funding while you're all here. So there are some changes to the funding application process this year, as you may have heard. As far as eligibility, to be eligible to apply, applicants must be on the DD waiver waiting list and must be living in their own home or in their family's home. This year, the application is in WAMS, which is the Waiver Management System. The funding application link is on the slide, and it's the same place that individuals and families go to access your waitlist forms. So you may already be familiar with this link. It's the same link to get to the waitlist forms. And Dee will share a little bit more about that in the demo. Another major difference is that there is no save a draft period. So the application portal will be open for 1 month for all to apply. We are moving away from awarding funding on a first come, first served basis. The amount of funds that you may request is based upon funding categories. Funding categories are based on the individual's priority status on the wait list. If you aren't sure of your priority status, please check with your support coordinator, case manager, or the CSB. So there's 3 priorities, priority 1, 2, and 3. To get the details about these funding categories and what is allowed, please go to the guidelines for the full details. And those, again, are on My Life, My Community funding page. But I'll tell you a little bit about it now. So applicants with a priority 1 status may apply for up to $1,000. The application period will be open until funding is exhausted. Funding approval will be given to individuals in priority 1 who have the highest critical needs scores. Funds will be awarded to those with the highest critical needs scores, and if there is remaining funding and all of the remaining applicants have the same score, the last of the applicants with the same score will be awarded based on the date and time stamp until funding is exhausted. Everyone with priority 1 status has a critical needs summary score. You do not need to know that score for the application, and we will pull that score from WAMS as we are making funding determinations after all applications have been submitted. I know that's a lot, but go ahead and feel free to look at the frequently asked questions and the guidelines for a little more detail there. For priorities 2 and 3, those are combined. So applicants with a priority 2 or 3 status may apply for up to $500. The application period will be open for a month for priority 2 and 3 and then closed. Funding approval will be given randomly to applicants within priorities 2 and 3 based on the number of applications received and the funds requested, not to exceed the predetermined funding amounts. IFSP will award funds to randomized sample of those applicants until all applicants in priority 2 and 3 have had an opportunity to access funding before repeating funding for previous awardees in future funding cycles. It is recommended that you apply on a laptop or tablet using Chrome or Edge browser. So that's really important to know for this year. We cannot guarantee that the application will work as smoothly on all smartphones or other browsers. So do try to, for the best experience, please use a laptop or tablet with the Chrome or Edge browser. Only one application is allowed per fiscal year, and the fiscal year ends on June 30th. And all eligible applicants with a priority 1 status on the wait list can begin applying on January 23rd, which is Monday. And all eligible applicants with a priority 2 or 3 status can begin applying on Wednesday, January 25th. Both of those start at 9 a.m. And I think that is it for me. Next, Dee Dee Thomas will be joining us for the demo.
So again, my name is Dee Dee Thomas, and I will be discussing and showing the portal portion to you. As Heather mentioned, the portal is in WAMS, and it's the same location. If any of you have gone to the waitlist portal to create your forms or say that you want to remain on the wait list, it's the same location. And I'm actually going to go in there a little bit later, just so that we can walk through the steps of applying for the funds. And also, as Heather said, I just want to remind you and recommend that you use a laptop or computer or a tablet to apply for funds. That is going to give you your best experience. So the portal itself is basically a website that can be used to apply for funds. And again, you can go in and also choose your waitlist forms. But the thing that we're going to talk about today is applying for the IFSP funds. And those funds are available to people that are currently on the DD waitlist, and that is anybody that is in the WAMS environment, has a record in WAMS. And also for people who are living in their own home. So when you go to the website and
Join the meeting.
The link is shown there. It's dbhds.virginia.gov/waitlist forms. When you go to that website, one of the first things that you'll see is the waitlist and IFSP portal. It will have 2 different login screens, and I will actually walk through that and show you how to do that in a bit. The login requirements, once you get, when you click on the login, you will going to see that it's for the applicant. You must be on the wait list. If you're not on the wait list, you will receive an error message. The other things is that you need to provide the last name, the last 6 digits of your social security number, and the person's date of birth. Now, this is a change from the waitlist portal. I think I saw a question earlier about not being able to log in using the Medicaid number. Well, the Medicaid number is no longer required. The 3 things that you're going to need is the last name of the individual that's on the wait list, the last 6 digits of their social security number, and their date of birth. Now, regarding the social security number, one of the things that you might want to be aware of is in the WAMS environment, it's possible if the social security is not known for the CSB to enter all zeros. So if you have, the individual does have a social security number and you go to try to log in and you're not able to, you might want to try before you give up and call the help number. You might want to try using 6 zeros because that may be how it's entered into the system. So keep that in mind. And then there are a couple of things that will come up that I just wanted to point out. And one is the message that happens if either the individual is not on the wait list or if you entered the incorrect credentials. You're going to see that error message pop up, basically letting you know that you're not able to log in. The other message that you'll see is if the funding period is closed. For instance, once the month ends and the funding period is not open, or for instance, if the individual is on priority 2 or 3 and that period hasn't opened yet, you're going to see a message that pops up to let you know that you're not going to be able to apply for funds because the period is closed. All right, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can actually walk through the steps. All right, so again, once you get to the waitlist login, you go to your browser and you log in to actually get to the URL. You'll see again 2 options for either the waitlist portal or the IFSP portal. If you click on waitlist portal, you're going to see the information along with the telephone number here. And again, remember, the Medicaid number is no longer needed. You're going to see the option for the Social Security number, the last name, and the date of birth. If you're ready to apply for funds, you simply click on the login to IFSP portal. And this number, by the way, is different than what's on the waitlist portal. So keep that in mind. Depending on what you're trying to do is what number will display. And again, what you're going to need to put in are the last name, the 6 Social Security, and the last 6 digits of the Social Security number, and the date of birth. Now I'm going to actually go through 3 different scenarios. The first scenario I'm going to go through is just to quickly show you how to apply for funds. And the scenario that we're going to use is the individual, her name is Holly the name is Reese Benton. And Reese is a 22-year-old who is going to be applying for funds himself.
Dee,
So
I'm going to jump in real quick. This is Heather.
Sure.
We're getting a few questions that I thought we'd address really quick while we're here.
Sure.
People are going to that website now and they're seeing that there's only the waitlist portal. So can explain that real quick.
Yes, that's a great question. I'm glad that came up because the system is not live yet. It's not going to be live until Monday. So you're not going to be able to log in this way and see these options and also see the Medicaid number gone until Monday when the system is available to be used. So that's a great question.
And also to speak to that change, the change in the login credentials was to solve for some of the issues that were occurring with the Medicaid number. It was causing a lot of people trouble in getting into the waitlist portal. And so when this goes live on Monday, both logging into the waitlist portal and the IFSP portal, that's where that change will happen. The Social Security number, the last name, and the date of birth instead of the Medicaid number. And that will hopefully eliminate some of the problems. We know there will still be some issues, and if so, there's a phone number to call to get help. But that's why we did that change.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad you asked that question. That's a great question. So I have now entered Reese Benton's information so that I can log in as I am, for all intents purposes, I am applying for funds on behalf of my own self. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and click on log in. And you can see I'm now at the home page for the IFSP application. You can see it's listed here. On the left-hand side, you've got a menu over here. And you can see it's highlighted here for the IFSP portal home. And if you need it for whatever reason to go to the waitlist portal because you need to say that you want to remain on the wait list, you need to complete that form, you can actually click on waitlist portal home here, and that actually takes you into the waitlist forms. And you can see the two options here to complete your individual choice form, as well as to complete the needed services form. Now, to get back to the portal, the IFSP portal home, all you have to do is click on that option there, and it takes you right back in. And it's very similar. If you've been in the waitlist portal before, then this should be very familiar to you. You know that on the right-hand side, there's a Spanish button. So if you click on this Espanol button here, it actually changes it to Spanish. And you can then read this information. And then, of course, go back to English. You just click on it. It's a toggle. Also, there's the Start New Application button here. And we also have at the very top the Account button, which allows you to sign out. Now, the other option on the left-hand side is the View IFSP Applications. This is where you actually will go and see any applications once it's been started. You can actually go back and either finish it or see what the status is for any that have already been submitted. So now all I need to do is click on my Start New Application button to begin the process. Now, because WAMS already knows the individual based on how you logged into the system, the first thing that happens when you click on Start New Application is you're going to be presented with a question about whether or not you're currently, or the individual is currently living in your own home or family home. Now, because I am the person filling this out for myself, and I can do that because I'm 18 or above 18, actually 22, then all I have to do is click on yes. So this question is a requirement to be able to apply for funds. You have to currently live in your own home or your family home. And this is basically acknowledging that that is true. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and choose yes.
And Dee, I did see a question. We'll get to as many of the questions at the end as we can, but there was a question I saw about living in a rental home. Yes, it has nothing to do with whether you're renting or owning your own home. It's about whether you can't be living in like a group home or a nursing home or another institution type setting. So that's what it means when it's saying in your own home or family home.
Your living situation.
Right.
So now that we're actually in the application, it's broken down into 3 sections. We've got the applicant section at the top, and you can scroll, and then you have the funding section. You see there's the title bar there. And then the last section, the 3 sections is the signature section. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top. The other thing is it automatically pulls in information based on the individual. And so there's information at the top that is pulling directly from WAMS, and it cannot be changed. And that will be the individual's name, who's receiving the funds, the date of birth, the CSB that that individual is assigned to, and also their priority level. You can see Reese is a priority 3. And also there's a spot for the application ID. This will be assigned once the application has been submitted. Now, the other things down here in yellow would be the contact information. And you can see you can click in here, but you cannot change it. So one of the things that you want to do when you're completing this application is really read this information, confirm that is accurate, it is the right information, because this is the information that we have in the record. Now, if there's anything that needs to be changed, then you want to choose this yes option here, and then you'll be able to make some changes here. I'm not going to do it in this instance, but basically I've reviewed my information about the individual, the application, and I'm ready to move on. Now, as I scroll down, the next part is regarding the responsible party. And basically this is saying that only the responsible party can apply for funds. And who is that responsible party? It's either the applicant, if 18 years or older, or their custodial family member, the representative. So if that is the question here is, who is the responsible party? If it's me, myself, then I'm going to choose yes. Is the applicant the same as the responsible party? The answer is yes. If the applicant is completing this on behalf of someone else, then they would say no here. But in this scenario, the answer is yes. I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down to the next section, which is the funding category. And the first thing you have to do is basically acknowledge that you're applying for funds. And what you'll notice is that it automatically knows what the priority is and also how much money is allowable based on that priority. So in this instance, this individual is a priority 3. That means that they are allowed to apply for up to $500. At this point, I can go here and see what's covered and non-covered. You can click on the link here. It's going to open up the program guidelines so that you can review what's covered and not covered. But if you know what you need to apply for, then you can go down to the categories, which are right here. So we've got 3 different categories. We've got safe living, improved health outcomes, and community integration. So let's say that the funds that I'm applying for up to $500 is for safe living. So once I select that option, I can then go in and put in my amount and indicate the plan use for fund details. And if I'm trying to apply for others, I would select or deselect as necessary. So you can see it's a toggle. It's either on or off. If you select it, you must put in the amount and the details. If you don't just select it, then you don't have to do anything with it. So again, it's a toggle. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put in my money for the safe living, and I'm going to do $250. And I am going to put in for being able to get an air fryer and a microwave for safe and independent cooking. Heather, is there anything else that you want to speak on as far as the details and what type of information to put in here?
So I would really encourage everyone to look at the program guidelines. That's going to tell you for each category, what are the allowable things under each category that you can request. Looking at that, if you're not sure, you're like, I know I need help with certain things, but you can go to that list and see what are the types of things that could be covered. And then again, if you could put in as much information as possible, you don't have to write a novel, but, keep in mind that, we have, we're going to have about 3 people reviewing these over the month after the application period closes, and we want to get you the money as soon as possible once you're approved. So the more detail you can give, the better, so that we can match up what your request is with one of the allowable expenses. So, if you just put air fryer and microwave, that to me I don't understand what that means for safe living. So if you can explain how something like that would make your living safer, then that would be helpful. So those are the 2 things I wanted to just point out: is go to the funding guidelines and add some detail so that we can approve it more easily.
And you can get to the funding guidelines very quickly by clicking on this link here. Now, one of the other things that you might want to do is there's this little I here, and this basically stands for information. And when you put your mouse pointer over top of it, it just gives you a little quick tip about what's needed for that particular thing. And anytime you see an I in WAMS, if you put your mouse pointer over top of it, you're going to be able to find that, or in the portal itself. So,
And I'm also going to just add, because there's multiple questions coming in about the same thing. Rachel has put in the chat the link to where the user guide is, the program guidelines, and the frequently asked questions. So if there's a lot of people asking if they can see those guidelines prior to Monday, and yes, you can. That you can definitely go to that link and get all of that information today ahead of time.
Thank you. So now I have, up to this point, I've verified my information in the application section. I didn't need to make any changes, so I have no selected there. The other thing that I want to point out here is make sure that the individual's email here is the location of the email where you want to receive information about this application. And I'll talk to you a little bit more in the detail in the next scenario. So now we've made sure that we selected, yes, the applicant is the responsible party. And we've now completed the statement as well as the funding. The last thing to do is to create not create, but to acknowledge and then agree to, and then sign the actual application. So I've selected these check boxes. The other thing is, notice that it says that this field is required. So any of the fields that have the red asterisk are required fields. And notice up at the top, there's a button that says Save Changes. If I click on Save Changes now, it's going to save the changes. But if I were to go back out and come back in, I would lose those changes, because I cannot save all of my changes until I complete all of the required fields. So just keep that in mind. If you accidentally go out and come back in and you've not completed the entire thing, you're going to have to start all over. So try to do it all in one setting. And you can always go back and make changes before you submit. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and do my signature now. So the first thing I want to do is click on my down arrow for type of signature, and I'm going to select applicant. And then the next thing, if you'll notice over to the right, I can either choose written or signature. I'm going to go ahead and choose e-signature here. And this allows you to draw your signature on here. So I can then just type using my mouse. And you can save that information. Or if you choose written, all you have to do is just type in the actual name. And sorry, I had to scroll up to see what my last name was. Reese Benton. And at this point, all my fields are complete. I can click on Save Changes. I highly recommend that you save your changes and review. Notice you've said success, record has been saved. I can then go and review all of my information. I can make any changes. If, for instance, I put in the incorrect amount and I'm over the maximal amount that is allowable, and I try to save my changes, I'm going to get an error message to say, wait a minute, the total amount requested may not exceed $500. So what I have to do is just close this out, dismiss all, and I can then go back and make the appropriate changes. Because, you know, people make mistakes, they put in typos or whatever. So just make sure that you've got the maximum amount, you're not maxed out. It's easy to change. I then go back and save my changes. And now I'm ready to submit the application. So I've reviewed everything, I'm ready to submit. Now, before I submit, I want to talk about this discard button. You can discard an application, start it all over if you need to, as long as you do it before you submit. Once you submit, you're not going to have the ability to discard. The other thing, you see your Spanish button here. If you start your application, make sure, and you need to do it, have it in Spanish, make sure you click on the Spanish button first, the Espanol button first. Otherwise, if I do it now, I will lose all of my changes or all my additions, and I would have to start all over. So always click the Spanish button first before you even start the application. So now I'm ready to submit. I'm going to click on my submit button here. And I got the application submitted successfully. And now you can see everything is grayed out, it's locked. And at this point, what happens is I receive an email basically saying that my ISP application has been submitted. So now you're looking at my email. When I double click on it to open it up, you can see when it was submitted. This is not an email that you can reply to. Notice it says do not reply. If you needed to reply to anyone, you need to contact the My Life, My Community folks. But you can see this basically saying that your application for funding has been received. It also created a application ID for you, and you can use this as a reference number. So at this point, I've now received my my submission email. I'm going to go back into WAMS, and as long as I have submitted my application, if I click on the back to list at this point, it's going to show me the status of my application. So I can see when it was created. I also have my application ID here, when it was submitted, and also the status that the application is in. If I need to go back in just to see it and review it, I can click on my summary button and you can see it's right there. At this point, I'm done. I can then sign out of the portal. I would then go to account and then choose sign out. And it will tell you that you're logged out. The next scenario that I want to go over is if the person is over 18 or above, but someone else is completing the application on their behalf. Again, I'm here at the login screen. I'm going to choose log in to the IFSP portal. And this time I'm going to use Willy Wonka. And Willy Wonka is 27 years old. I put in the last 6 digits of his social security number, as well as his birth date, and click on log in. Again, I'm right back to the application main screen or home page, and I can click on start new application. Again, I'm going to choose yes to the question, currently living in own home or family home. And again, same thing here, it's locked here so that you don't need to worry about this top part. You just need to verify. Now, at this point, I need to make some changes to the individual's address. I need to add in an apartment number, and I also wanted to change the email address or the zip code. So what I need to do, because again, remember, you can't click in here and make any changes. What you have to do is answer the question, yes, where it says, do you need to update any of the information below? So as soon as I said yes, notice this information here, contact your support coordinator. And that is in the case that you need to update the individual's record, because the only thing that you're doing is updating the information for this application and for IFSP purposes. So if it needs to be updated on the individual's record permanently, you need to contact the support coordinator at the CSB. And you can see the CSB right here.
Dee, I'm going to hop on real quick to just mention, we're getting lots and lots of great questions. And so I just want to reassure everyone, we're trying to pay attention to the training too, to make sure we can add to it as needed. So we're not ignoring your questions. Like we said at the beginning, we will get to them at the end. And if there's a question that we don't get to, you can email the IFSP support inbox. But I did want to mention, we speak a lot about support coordinator here. The other term for that is case manager. Some CSBs use that term. And also some people that are on the wait list don't have, active case management or support coordination services. So if you don't know your support coordinator's name, or you don't have a support coordinator and you're on the wait list, that's fine. That just means that that's allowed. But if you need to find out your priority number, you could still get in touch with the case management team at the Community Services Board where you signed up for your waiver, or where you're currently connected for your wait list. So even if you don't have a support coordinator that's assigned to you, you can contact that CSB and find out your priority number. The other thing is, if for some reason you're not able to get in touch with someone, and you still aren't sure of your priority status, that's okay too. It's ideal if you can get that information so you know the day that you can start applying. But if you don't have it, you just go ahead and log in any day after starting on Monday. And if you are on priority 1, you should be able to log in. If you're not, and you're on priority 2 or 3, then it will tell you that it's not open for you to apply at this time, and then you can try again on Wednesday. So again, we encourage you to find out first, so you don't have to try and get told no. But if you can't get a hold of somebody, we know that happens, and so you have other options. So just wanted to reassure everyone on that.
Good stuff. Thank you, Heather. Great questions too. So I'm going to go ahead at this point and make a quick change to the application's contact information. So again, I selected yes here. And what I need to do is put in an apartment number. So I'm just going to quickly type apartment 2C here. And now I've updated my information. Again, if I needed to update the email address, I would do that here. If I needed to update the Social Security number, I could do that here as well. But just keep in mind, this is not updating the individual's record, only for the application. So the next thing down is the responsible party. Now this time, remember, I'm creating this on behalf of the individual, Willy Wonka. So I'm going to go here, and instead of saying yes to this question, I'm going to say no. And as soon as I say no, then the custodial family member's information, contact information appears. So I can now go in here and put in my name, who is filling out the information. So Sally Wonka, and the birth date. And the Social Security number. And the street address. I'm just going to copy it from above. And of course, if it's different, then obviously put in the information. Yep. And the email address. Now I'm actually going to use the same email address here. One of the things that I need to kind of reinforce is whatever email address is in this top one, this individual's email section here, is the email that all the emails will go to regarding this application. So be sure, if the custodial family member needs to receive the emails, make sure that that custodial family information email address is in the individual's email. And just to be on the safe side, I would just put it in both locations. Now, once the custodial family's information is completed, then the next thing is to, again, complete the funding category section. And notice that because this Willy Wonka is a priority 1, it automatically knows that the max amount is 1,000 instead of 500. So I'm going to go ahead and select that I understand and acknowledge that I'm applying for this category priority 1. And then I'm going to put in my information again for the categories, one of the 3 categories, or one or more. So again, you can select one or more of the categories as necessary. And so I'm going to put in And of course, I'm making up the numbers. I'm not sure how much each of these things are. So keep that in mind. I just want to make sure I get the actual amount that's necessary. And this time I'm actually going to do all three. And of course, as you can see, that amount is quite different than what would be needed, but I think you get the idea. Make sure that the amount matches the description. Once you have all of the amounts in there and you're ready to go, down to the signature section. So I'm going to go ahead and agree and certify and say that I understand. Make sure that you read this information. Don't just simply check the check boxes like I just did. The next thing is your signature. So again, I'm signing as the custodial family member. Same thing as before, you can either do a written one or an e-signature. And the custodial is Sally Wonka. And it automatically inserts the date, today's date. So again, I'm going to save my changes. So the only thing that's different between this scenario and the last scenario is the first scenario, I was the individual, I was applying for myself. I did not need to complete the custodial family member. For this scenario, it's because I, as the custodial family member, am the responsible party. I'm going to select no here and complete this information. I'm going to make sure that my email address is listed here. And if necessary, I'm going to select yes, so that I can put that information there. So now that my record has been saved, I can now submit. And now I'm going to sign out and show you the last scenario, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some additional details. So the last scenario is for completing the application for someone who is under 18 or a child. And in this instance, I'm going to create an application for Peter Pan. And the last 6 digits, and Peter's birthday is August the 24th. And I think Peter is about 8 years old. So at this point, I'm going to, again, very quickly, just click on Start New Application. I'm going to choose yes. And for here, because Peter is so young, he doesn't have an email address. I'm definitely going to say yes here so that I can update the email address so that I can receive, as the family member, receive the emails about this application. So I'm going to select this or put my email address here. And notice I don't have to do anything to select that I am the responsible party. It already knows that this person is under age and needs someone above 18 to complete the application on his behalf, his or her behalf. So I'm going to, again, put in my custodial family members' information. Social Security number. And again, I'm making sure I get the right format in there. I'm going to copy my address information. And again, put in the email address for the custodial family member. So now that that part is done, the next thing is to do the funding category. Now, Peter Pan is actually a priority 2. And so I'm allowed to get $500. And I am going to put all of it here And the plan use for funds is some transportation services. Next thing down is to acknowledge and certify and agree. Make sure I select all three of those. And for the signature, custodial family member, again, I'm going to choose written. And John Pan is the one who's completing this application. I'm going to save my changes and look at that. I need to go back and make sure that this is selected before I can save and get that success message. Once I've completed all of my information, I'm going to submit. Now, let's say for whatever reason, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Let's say that, some time has gone by and, I haven't received an email. So what I can do is actually log back into the system. And again, you want to get to this spot right here. And let's say that I needed to log back in and look at the account for Willy Wonka. So again, I have to put in my credentials, and you can log into the system at any time that you need to, regardless of whether the cycle is open, closed, it does not matter. You can go in and log in. So again, I put in all of my information, last name, social security number, date of birth, log in, and I just need to know what's the status, what's my current status. Over on the left-hand side, I can click on View IFSP Applications, and you can see there is a link here that allows me to see the application status is in pending approval. Now, once an application has been approved, you will also see the status will update to application approved or application denied. So you'll always be able to log into the system and see what the status is. Either it's pending approval, in progress, or approved or denied. Now, you will also get emails for approved and denied. So if I go to my email, for instance, and I received an email that says important information regarding your IFSP funding request, if I open it up, it's going to let me know whether it's been approved or denied. So I have my application ID. You always want to use this as a reference number if you need to contact anyone. And you can see that first sentence will let you know whether the funding has been approved or denied. If it's approved, you're going to receive an email. You're going to see additional information and links with guidelines and to my community, my life, my community website. If it's denied, you're going to have an email that's similar to this one, which will say, again, your application ID. It's going to let you know that the funding has been denied for one or more of the following reasons. So it could be one of these three reasons. It could be that the program has been exhausted. Also, if you scroll down, there's an option regarding appeals and what to do. Within 30 days, there's a link to go out to SurveyMonkey and make it in writing. All right, Heather, is there anything else that you can think of or you want me to show before I sign out?
No, I think you covered a lot. We've got a lot of questions and only a few minutes, so we want to get to our questions and our wrap up.
I do want to remind you that all of this information is in a user guide that's going to be available or is available on the My Life, My Community Help website. It's a step-by-step guide of all the things that I just went through that you can go to right today and print it out or look at it online and just be familiar with all the information. I do encourage you to read all the information that's in front of you. I know sometimes it's hard At least I know it is for me. But try to read all the information that's in front of you. And Heather, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you with questions.
Okay.
Heather, I think in general, one of the main things, if you could talk about, is security. A lot of people have concerns about the security of the website.
Right, of course. And yes, so those of you who are new to the waitlist may not know, but there were some breaches in the past with the previous application, and private health information was shared, and that was extremely unfortunate. Over the past year or two now, there's been a lot of work to try to prevent that from happening again. Using the WAMS portal, it's a trusted site that we are already using for individuals on the wait list and for everybody with a waiver. So it is something that the department is familiar with, families are familiar with. And, you know, if you are concerned and you don't feel comfortable, you know, I totally understand that. We have done tons of preparation to try to prevent anything like that from happening again. And it's a totally different system this time. But if you're unsure, you know, if you want to wait a couple days and not apply on the first day, that's one idea. And just to, you know, reassure yourself that other people are having success and there's no problems. But we have worked very hard to prevent anything like that from happening again.
The other thing, if you don't mind me adding, is that you don't have to all go and apply at the same time. It's not a first come, first served basis. So you can, you know, like Heather said, wait a day or two, and there's no penalty for waiting.
Right.
And there, the time period, Heather, to apply.
Oh, okay. So priority 1 is Monday, is when you can begin applying all the way through the month. And the priority, well, I'm sorry, a month from the 23rd is when it ends. And then for priority 2 and 3, you can begin applying on Wednesday, the 25th. And also, speaking of one of the questions I just saw I was going to respond to, but now it's gone. Oh, I don't want to miss this one. So while we've got Dee on here, people are asking about login issues, that they're saying that they're trying to log in now to the waitlist portal and are having problems. And so it's feeling frustrating that they're not able to log on today. And we just want to reiterate that, that, you know, it should be working for to log into the waitlist portal today. It's different credentials. So today, to log in, you need the Medicaid number and what is it again, Dee? I'm not as familiar with.
Yeah, it's the Medicaid number, the Social Security number, and the last 6 digits of, wait a minute, the date of birth, Medicaid number, and the last 6 digits of the Social Security number. And if you are having problems, the number there should be able to get you the help that you need. If you're still not having any luck, I can look into it a little bit deeper. So the person that answers that call you could say, contact Dee Dee so that we can, look into it and see why you're not able to log in. Most of the issues that we were seeing, though, were related to the Medicaid number and it not being the one that was in the system. So, if you're having problems, please don't get frustrated. We'll find some way to get you the help that you need.
And since we're running out of time, again, check those frequently asked questions. A lot of your answers are going to be answered that we've already kind of prepared, that those would be a lot of the same questions, and those are in that document. The guidelines are going to answer a lot of your questions, and you can always contact us through the IFSP support mailbox that we shared earlier. You can subscribe to our email list. That we'll be sharing information out on that regularly if anything changes. And if there is a problem, I saw that question as well. If something happens with the portal and it's not working correctly, then we would put out communication to let people know what's happening and next steps.
And don't forget that what you're seeing today is not what you're going to be seeing on Monday. So when you go to log into the portal today, you're going to see that Medicaid number listed there. But come Monday, you're not going to see that option. It's going to be the birth date, the Social Security number, and the last name. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be different come Monday.
Okay.
The only other question, I guess we can clarify. I feel like everyone believes that this is first come, first serve. And if you could clarify that it's open for 30 days and
Correct.
the applications are reviewed at the end, at the close.
Correct. Yes, I did explain that earlier, that it is open for 30 days. We won't be reviewing or making any determinations until the end of that 30 days, until the end of the month from the start date of the application period. And so be reassured there. There is that scenario that I explained earlier for a small group of people that could possibly, we needed to have a plan if that happened, and that there was remaining funding and all of the people that were in the same group could not receive the funding. So again, that we will solve for with the date and time. But other than that, none of it is first come, first serve, except for that one scenario. We were trying to move fully away from that in future years. And that's the plan. But for this year, yes, you can apply throughout the month, and don't have to feel like you need to rush.
And for close, I've reviewed the questions that I've logged. If participants go to the guidelines and the frequently asked questions, if you go to the links that Rachel provided early on, the majority of your questions can be answered between those two documents.
Yes. And thank you for such great questions. Wish we had more time to answer them all here, but like Rhonda said, we put a lot of time into trying to get those questions answered for you in other places so that you can refer back to them and share them with people that you know, encourage others to read the information so that when they do try to apply, they have a smooth experience. And we really look forward to being able to get this funding out to people.
And one quick thing before we go, don't forget that the user step-by-step guide is out there as well. So you can go get that today and start looking at it. It will probably answer some of your questions as well. And you'll have it there to kind of guide you through.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.